1911, here's an example of the hair fashions. Poofy up. In 1911, the first electrical starter for cars was invented by GM engineers Charles Kettering and another guy. Before the invention, automobiles were started by hand cranking. When the engine would start, the operator would have to immediately step aside for the dangerous kickback that would happen and threw off the need for the crank. Ads would make this process look easy, but it was generally difficult and messy. Henry Leland, head of Cadillac Motor, lost a friend who was injured and later died from such a kickback, thus motivating Cadillac to include the new electric starter as soon as it was available. 1912, we have an example of hairstyle here, not too different. Then we have the Titanic, not with Leonardo or Kate, however. It was a big ship, and the maiden voyage carried 2,224 passengers and crew, and some of her passengers included the wealthiest people in the world, as well as hundreds of immigrants from Europe seeking a new life in North America. And it was fancy. It had an onboard gym, swimming pools, libraries, high-class restaurants, and opulent cabins. But because of the outdated maritime safety regulations, she carried only enough lifeboats for 1,178 people. 4 days into crossing the Atlantic Ocean towards New York, she hit an iceberg, causing the ship to fill with water. Some passengers and some crew were evacuated in lifeboats partially loaded. Only 710 people survived. As the ship was sinking, the Titanic's orchestra played music as long as they could to try to calm the passengers while they all went down with the ship. 1913. Hair. Cute. Still cute. And then Ford introduced the assembly line that could produce a complete car every 2.5 minutes. Whoa, and whoa, fast. The change was an important change on car production because it allowed Ford to sell cars for cheaper, which forced other companies to move to automated production lines and creating a competitive market. And in other news, the Mona Lisa was recovered 2 years after its theft from the Louvre Museum in Paris. And it was found in Florence in an Italian waiter's hotel room. His name is Vincenzo Peruggia. Good for him. He has a fancy mustache. 1914. Hair started getting way cuter. And this was the beginning of World War I. How it started was Franz Ferdinand went to, not the band, way before the band. Franz Ferdinand and his wife went to Sarajevo, and they got killed by young Bosnia. And that made the Hungarians mad. They accused Serbia of murder and demanded dismemberment of state. And so they all called all their friends who were Germany, Hungary, Italy, and they all went to war on Serbia. They fought. It was bad. It was war. War. So there's that history lesson. 1915, huge year for women. As part of women's suffrage movement, 25,000 women marched up Fifth Avenue in New York City demanding rights to vote. Good for them. Thank you, old women, for demanding to vote. Yeah. And then there's these guys. They obviously don't have wives to go home to. 1917, this is when we got involved with war. Remember when I didn't even mention the Americans? This is when we came in. And this is when things got serious. We had to start saving food. Women started having help for war. It was crazy. Canning. Ugh. 1918, the flu epidemic. The first case of the most worst flu epidemic in history reported at Fort Riley, Kansas. It would eventually kill more than 500,000 Americans and 20 million people worldwide. And that was estimated 30 million people worldwide altogether. So the bird flu was nothing. Absolutely nothing. So there was war, there was this, There's canning. There's everything. Dark, dark days. 1919. End of the Edwardian era. War's still going on. Girls' hair shorter. But I'm going to leave it on a happy note. Because everybody loves toast. This is when the pop-up toaster was invented. And electrical. But you still had to slice it just right to fit. But without that, we wouldn't be eating this every morning. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something.
What's the matter, America? What's the matter with you?